Okay, so yesterday we talked about a bunch of definitions. Um, this is on page 14, just a real quick recap. What are the three things you need to insure your car once you bought it? What do you have to have with you when you go to the store? These three things. Okay, must have. You must have those in order to insure your vehicle. And when it comes to the safety inspection, which copy do you want? The white copy. If you get the yellow or the pink, no go. They're really strict. They're really picky on that. Okay. Okay. Now we're getting into the math part. Okay. Talked a lot about the different documents. Go to 15. If you have your green formula sheet, this is at the back of that formula sheet. I don't have it on me right now. I might get it later, but this is also found there. So this is just breaking down, right? If you're buying a new car, you pay both PST, GST. It's always going to be 12%. Buying used from a dealership, PST, GST, still 12%. Nothing changes. When it's buying a used and it's private, that's when things change. You can cross off the GST section. You're only going to pay 7%. Can you read what it says in there though? What does it say? PST is calculated on greater of book value or the actual purchase price. Okay, that's something we're going to look at more carefully. Safety, there's no PST on safety, only GST. So safety gets taxed 5%. Materials and labor pay both, it's still 12%. A LIEN search, no PST, no GST, right? So it's 0%. So LIEN doesn't pay you don't pay taxes on it until they need money, and then they're going to start taxing it. I'm going to show you a LIEN search, a Carfax later in this course, maybe later today. Let's go to the formulas. So this does not need to be on your study sheet. This is on your formula sheet. If you ever forget, you just go look it up there. Okay, so formulas. There we go. You have used dealer. Buying a used from a dealer, UD, you will not find these formulas anywhere else, any textbook ever. I just made these ones, okay? You get them for free. Sticker minus trade times 1.12, that's to add taxes, right? Plus safety times 1.05. Does that make sense why it's 1.05? It's because safety you only pay 5% taxes. That's why it's 1.05. So 5%, this is 12% tax because it's from a dealer. We pay 12%. Parts and labor, 12%. That's why it's 1.12. And then the LIEN, you would tack that on, and it doesn't get taxed, right? No taxes on this. So you just add that number at the end. Okay, that's used dealer. I want to say something here though. Most questions, when you buy it from a dealer, you ready? You got to look up here to get this part. Most questions do not have that part when it's from a dealer. Okay, why is that? Well, they usually have it safetied already. They usually already put all the parts and labor. And the LIEN search from a dealer, you don't really need to pay for that. They make sure there's no LIEN on the car. Okay, they don't want to be dinged on that. So you can, unless it's a dealership that you've never heard of before, it's kind of like around the corner, somewhere in the back alley. They are probably still do a lien search. But if it's one of the big ones, you don't have to worry about it. Okay. However, I've seen on Kijiji, I've seen dealerships do this more often now. Somebody trades in an old car, they'll just post and say, as is, you buy it exactly the way it is from us if you want it. So that way they don't have to spend money on it. They just sell it the way it is. Okay. So it could be that this part is included. Next, private. That's when it gets interesting. If it's a private, watch this. If you look carefully, this part right here, starting at safety, I copied and pasted this one. This may not appear in question. Okay. So this part may not appear in the question, so don't worry about it. So I copied and pasted that part here. This is the safety, the parts, labor, and the lien. But this part right here is different. Watch this carefully. There's the purchase price. That's what you agreed to pay for the car, plus purchase or book value. What does it say here? Greater of the two. You highlight that and make sure you understand. AutoPack will charge you on the greater of these two. So let's say you buy a car for $1,000, Honda Civic, $1,000. You got it for really cheap. Maybe it was your neighbor. You go to AutoPack and they say, wait a minute, your car is worth $3,000 in our books, in our book value. You're gonna pay 7% on 3,000, not on 1,000 that you paid. Okay. And you know why they do that? Because you could technically sell it to someone for like $1, or like you can make the car really cheap and then people wouldn't pay taxes, right? So they have that book value to go off of. Just letting you know. When purchasing from a dealer, parts and labor as well as safety is usually included. A lien search is usually not required since you're buying from a dealership. Another note, both formulas calculate the total after tax. Can you please highlight that? Both formulas, they already add the taxes, so do not add taxes again. I have a little thing with that. The students use my formula, it's beautiful, and then at the end they're like, oh, it says after taxes. They take the whole number they just calculated using this, and they go times 1.12 one more time. So now you're double taxing yourself. You don't want to do that. Life is tough as is. You don't want to double tax yourself, right? So let's use these formulas. Okay, I have a little problem with formulas because sometimes it actually confuses students instead of helping. So actually, let's go back to 15 before I move on. Let's say I give you a question, and the only thing the question mentions is parts and labor. Like you got this car and you're gonna change the headlights, windshield, brakes, you name it. All they talk about is parts and labor. You take my formula here and you say, well, we're not buying a car. Obviously, we're not paying taxes. They're not mentioning a safety. So you literally just do that part. You find out what the parts and labor is, and then you add 12% taxes to it. Okay. So everything in this formula is true, but not necessarily applicable. And all of these tax rates are based off of this table right here. Okay, so I'm not making stuff up here. This is still, it applies. So you got to be creative with the formulas, okay? Don't stick to it too much. Let's go over to page 16 and let's solve our first problem here. Okay, let's read it. And I always pretend to be the student when I read this, right? So I kind of try to think how you would approach it. So you agree on a price of 12,999. So the price of the car is this much. It's a used car, and immediately you need to ask yourself, is it used private or is it used dealer? I have to be specific, and I am, right? It says dealership. So we know there's a used car at a dealership. Okay. You add a remote starter for 499. And then if the dealer offers you 3,500 for your old car, what is this? And the words we use for that would be a trade-in, correct? So they offer you this much for your car to trade in. How much is paid in total, including tax? That's what they're asking for. So let's write down my formula here. Use dealer. I'm going to peek on my formula, okay? It says sticker minus trade times 1.12 plus safety times 1.05 plus parts and labor times 1.12 plus a LIEN search. This is what you would have on your study sheet. You would look it up. You're like, okay, use dealer, here it is. Okay. Is there a LIEN mentioned? No. So get rid of that. Are there parts and labor? Is there a parts and labor section here? Remote starter. And here you have to be careful. Some students would say remote starter goes in here because it's parts and labor. Other students would say, well, wait a minute, isn't that an option? Shouldn't I add that to my price to get my sticker price out of that? Right? Guess what? Regardless of which way you go, you're still going to tax at 12%. So you decide what you want to do. Okay. So what I'm going to do is get rid of parts and labor. There's no safety mentioned, and it just boils down to this. That's what I'm going to do. What's my sticker here? It's the, yeah, it's the base plus any options that are mentioned. So $499.99. And again, if you on a test consider that parts and labor, you go for it. However, if I asked you specifically, what's the sticker price? You better do this, okay? If I ask you for the sticker price, you got to do this part. Okay. I should use my calculator because it slows me down. If I don't use my calculator, I go too fast. There we go. So my sticker price is that. And because it's a dealer, they allow me a trade-in. So I'm going to take the $13,498.99. I take away the trade-in. It could have been that there was no trade-in, right? Then don't worry about it, but there is one. I'm going to take that away. And then what remains gets multiplied by 1.12. I don't put brackets in for no reason, okay? Like you got to watch out and do that part first. So I'm going to show that step. So that's 9,998.99 times 1.12. And there you go. It's 11,198.87. Dollar sign, final answer, dollar sign. Okay, we don't care about dollar signs along the way as long as we have it at the end. I'll just say that there's no safety, no parts and labor, no LIEN search. I'll tell you this, you're gonna know when it's parts and labor. Like you're gonna know. I'm just gonna mention a whole bunch of things that are being replaced when you buy the car. So you're like, oh yeah, this is a parts and labor. I'll just put it all in there. Parts and labor is repairs more so. Options is like something you add to the car before you drive it off the lot, right? It adds to the car. It doesn't necessarily replace anything. Okay, guys? Does that make sense? Okay, let's do one more. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I talk too much. I'm guilty of that. Okay. Joel finds a Jeep Wrangler for $24,900. That's important. It's a private seller. Very important. So it doesn't say that it's used, but we know it's used because it's a private sale, right? Automatically. The book value, that's very important. I'm going to use a different color for book value. The book value is $32,000. Joel pays $65 for a safety inspection and $30 for a LIEN search. Calculate the total cost of purchasing the vehicle after tax. I'm going to write out the whole formula. Use private. It's price plus price slash book times 0.07 plus safety times 1.05 plus parts and labor, SU, times 1.12 plus LIEN. Okay, let's do a quick, just right here. The price of the car is $24,900, correct? The book value is $32,000. This one is greater. The book value is greater. So in this case, that is what's going to go in here. The book value is going to go in that bracket when you calculate things because it's greater. So let's go and plug things in. I'm just going to warn you, if you see a bunch of parts and labor, do that on the side. Don't try to wedge it in here. Just do the calculations on the side, then bring that number in here and then continue. So price is $24,900 plus $32,000 times 0.07. And you might ask, why 0.07, Mr. Erickson? Why not 1.07? Because this is how you should see it. This is the price of the car plus the taxes, okay? Plus, there's a safety, which is 65 bucks. It only gets taxed GST. So you're going to go 65 and add 5% to it. Any parts and labor? Nope. So I'm going to go cross that off my formula because it's not mentioned. I'm just going to go straight with a LIEN search, which is 30 bucks. Just like that. $24,900 plus, let's figure out what 32,000 times 0.07 is. 2240. And then 65 times 1.05. 68.25 plus just the 30 that's tacked on. Now you add it up. So I'm going to go this number plus 30 plus 2240 plus 24,900, 27,238 and 25 cents. Usually when it's a private sale, there is no trade-in. Most of the time there is no trade, right? You just buy it. But if it can be done, you can, like if you have a snowmobile, you just want to say, you want to take my snowmobile and then I give you another 20 grand. You can do that. It's legal, but it doesn't happen very often. So, and I've never seen that on a provincial exam. So don't worry about that. So this is it. Question: who gets this? Like, where do you pay the 2,240? That's because most of you didn't buy a car before. Autopack agent, okay? Don't give it to the person you're buying from, because you'll never see that money again, right? So you just pay the person, you pay 24,900 for the Jeep right now. When you go insure the car, they're gonna charge you this at the Autopack agent. They're gonna ask how you want to pay: cash, check, credit card. Okay. All right. I'm gonna skip this part right here for now. I'm just gonna ask you to try one right away. Go to page 20. I will do the other ones yet, but for now I'm going to ask you to go to 20. It's a worksheet. I want you to try questions 1 to 2, and you know what? 3 shouldn't be out of your. You should be able to do 3, but if you feel like, you know what, I want to wait, I don't blame you. But 1 and 2 for sure. Try that right now. This is on page 20. Just questions 1 to 2. Just get kind of used to it. Then I'll do one more question, and then I'm going to give you the rest of the class to just work these out yourselves, okay? And maybe go over these questions. So if you go to page 20, question 1, we're getting a used car. And there's the price of the car. And there's the book value. You only ever need the book value if it's a private sale. If it's just at a dealer, you don't need the book value. But I kind of broke it down into 2 and 1. This is like a 2 and 1 question. So if it's at a dealership, what is it after tax? Used dealer. Really, what this comes down to, sticker minus trade times 1.12. That's it. There's no safety, no parts and labor, no LIEN search. That's it. So what's your sticker price? Remember, you had to add like a gazillion numbers to come up with your sticker price before, right? When you had that table, not the case here. This is the sticker. So we're going to go 12,400. I'm just going to go with minus 0 because there is no trade-in. If you don't like that step, too bad. There it is anyways. You get 13,888.00, right? So that's how much you would pay at a dealer there. If it's used private, that's different. You got to use this formula. Can I just say something? It's not like you got to make sure it's plus. Okay, make sure you get the formula right. It's not times. So price is plus price slash book times 0.07. Do we need the rest? You don't need the rest. There's parts and labor, there's safety, and there's a LIEN search. We don't worry about that. So the whole formula just boils down to this. The price you are going to pay is $12,400 plus. Which one is greater, the book or the price of the car? Price of the car. The book value is not at all included in any of these calculations, okay? So 12,400 times 0.07, okay? This is the price. Price is greater. And I used up all the space I need to solve this. But anyways, we're just going to go sideways here. So that's 12,400 plus, if you do the math, if you do 12,400 times 0.07, you get 868. You add these two up, you get 13,268. So you saved, provided that the car is the same amount, you save a little bit because you go private, you only pay 7% tax. Okay. I'll do question 2 in a bit. I don't want to chew up too much time. I'll give you what the answer is supposed to be. How's that? You write this down. It's 5,988 and 25 cents. Go ahead. So write that down so you know. I will post the answer key anyways, but sometimes it's better to just have it right there. Okay, let's go back and do a parts and labor. I'm gonna say 17. Go to page 17, example 3 there. This is a parts and labor situation. Have a highlighter ready. Patty's buying a car and it's private for $9,500. In order to pass the safety or COI, it needs 2 headlights, which cost $60 each, 4 brakes at $150 each, and a new fuel pump for $190. Can you tell that this is parts and labor? Right? This is not just an add-on. How about this? Labor, right, takes 2 hours at $65 per hour. And then there's your safety check. Maybe I'll use a different color for safety. Safety check is 40 bucks. The book value of the car is 10,000. I'll use a different color. Running out of colors here. Book value is 10,000. Is the book value greater than the purchase price? Yes. Okay, so it's going to be part of our calculations here. I break this down, but I may not always do that, okay? Total cost of parts and labor before tax. That it means do not include in taxes. So let's see here. We will say 2 headlights, 2 times $60. That's 120. 4 brakes at 150 each. That would be 600. A fuel pump, which is just 190. And what does it say? 2 hours at $65 per hour. I'm just going to say sometimes the time is going to be an hour and a half, 2.5, what have you. Just take what it says. So we're going to go 2 hours times 65. Slow down. Slow down. 2 times 65, that's 130. Here we go. Let's add it up. It's 1,040 before taxes, right? Circle that number. That's what this question is asking for. This is parts and labor. If we were to tax it, we would tax it 12%, which will come down the road yet. The total cost to purchase the car after tax. Okay, what is this again? Used private. Okay, used private. Should I write out the formula, or are we good without the formula? We're okay without the formula? Okay, price of the car, 9,500. Plus, big plus, the book value is 10,000, so we will pay taxes on the 10,000. Plus, safety. This one has everything, but it's not always going to be the case, but includes all the pieces that this formula calls for. Parts and labor. That's when we plug this in, 1,040 times 1.12. Careful. If you would have added taxes up here already, you wouldn't have to multiply it by 1.12 again. So you have to be careful. Plus my LIEN search. Oh, is there LIEN? There's no LIEN. Okay, sorry guys. I made a change to your booklet, so no LIEN search. So don't worry about that. So let's break this down. And this is where I have a lot of students just rush to the finish line. Don't rush. You're so close. Take your time. 700 bucks for taxes. 40 times 1.05 is $42. 1,040 times 1.112 is 1164.80. And here we are, almost there. I'm going to take this number and add going backwards. $11,406.80. What's wrong with that? No zero at the end? Yes. You would lose half a mark. So just make sure if it's dollar amounts, it has to have the zero if there are cents. If it's 00, you don't need to put it down, but I still do. Okay, so this is your answer in this particular case. Can I just tell you what the most common mistake is? Beautiful, right? Students go back because I always tell them to read twice. Oh, it says after tax. It's 12,700 because they multiply that by 1.12. This already has all taxes. All taxes included. Okay. You have the 7% for the car, the 5% for the safety, the 12% for parts and labor. It's all in there. Okay. And here, 17C, I'm going to end with this, and then you'll have the rest of the class to work. I would strongly suggest you do a few. If it says taxes only, total taxes, that's all they want, just the taxes. I'm going to show you here the trick that I give you. You copy all these brackets, but instead of 1.05 and 1.12, you'll just say 0.05 and 0.12. Okay, so taxes, you don't worry about the 9,500 because that's not taxes, right? That's the car price. So you're going to go 10,000 times 0.07 plus 40 times, I'm going to use a red pen for this one, 0.05 plus 1040 times 0.12. And I know in a class this size, I know somebody's going to find a different way of doing it. That's fine. I don't really care as long as you show me the work. We already know this first piece, correct? This is 700. Can you tell how much you were taxed from 40? $2, yes. $2 is that part. And yeah. Yeah, thank you. 826, yeah, okay. 0.80. There we go. That's my way of doing it. I know some of you would just subtract, right? 1040 minus that, 40 minus that, right? Like you'd subtract and figure out that way. I'm okay with that. I'm flexible that way. Here's what I'm going to tell you to try. I'm going to assign all the way from 20 to 22, but you're probably almost done 20 or have started it. If you make it to page 21 at least, and then, you know, I know you have a life, I know you work, I know you do things, right? I know life isn't just about homework, is it? But I always tell students, if you want to do really well in this class, do all of it. Like if you want to do really well. But if you're okay with, you know, 70, 80, then do all the way up to page 21 or do half of it or something like that. Right? So I will post the key to this and you'll be able to see it and compare.